Okay, I guess we can go ahead and get started. We have like over 100 people here, which is very exciting. My name is Glenn Kinsler, and I am the coordinator in the Office of Student Life and Leadership. I will be facilitating today's presentation. I have a colleague, Christina Cruz, who is our graduate assistant, who will help monitor our chat box, and she is helping with a number of different things on the back end in terms of troubleshooting in the Zoom room. And then I have our other colleague, Serena Mann, who is helping us with our YouTube stream, because as you know, we are recording this to share on YouTube. I will let the panelists introduce themselves here in a bit, but before we get started, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. So just a few things. We're recording today's session and putting it on our YouTube channel because I know there's a number of people that can't make it here today. And we've muted everybody to prevent disruptions. I know some of you are familiar and have already done so. Rename yourself with your student organization. It's always really fun to see who's in the room, but you can also introduce yourself. I know some of you already have done that in the chat box. Introduce yourself and your organization in the chat box. Throughout this presentation, feel free to share your thoughts, feel free to snap, share your questions, ideas in the chat box. Our staff, like I said, was monitoring it in case you have questions that we need to bring to our presenters. But if you have issues in terms of hearing us or seeing things on the screen, put that in the chat box as well. If you're here for LeadCon re-registration credit, stay until the very end of today's presentation. We will have a survey for you to fill out so that you get credit for today's organization or for your organization's registration for this year. So stay for the whole thing if your organization is not registered yet. Let's see. So today we are talking about a number of different things. We're talking about virtual engagement. And as you know, as some of you may know, at the end of every LeadCon session, we have been doing a survey, and we have been asking students what their top concerns are for the fall 2020 semester. And below is just a compilation of the feedback from the past 8 sessions. And today we'll be addressing the top 4 concerns. And so for those of you who need a refresher, the median is the middle number found by ordering all of the data points and picking out the one in the middle, and the mode is the one that's like the most common number in a data set. So we've seen that membership recruitment's been a big hot topic lately, and then maintaining engagements coming in second, along with membership retention. And so I think those go hand in hand. We'll also be talking about coordinating virtual events. Not to say the other things aren't big issues, but I feel like those are separate conversations that we can have outside of today's workshop. So before I introduce our panelists, I wanted to zoom out and take a 30,000 foot view of why we're here today. Like, why do students even get involved? Why do they want to join student organizations? And as we are looking at several years of DiscoverFest survey feedback, DiscoverFest attendees usually comment on one or more of these topics listed here on this screen. They maybe talk about wanting to gain leadership skills, and maybe it's like learning how to leverage the strengths of others to achieve a common goal. Maybe they are looking to meet new people, find their people. I know that's why many of you have joined your organizations. Some people want to learn about themselves, become more self-aware. They want to take advantage of networks and maybe learn about certain industries or careers. Our office has found that students who get involved are likely to be doing better in the classroom than their peers. And the proof is in the pudding. Here on the screen is our data from student organization leaders from last year. So presidents and treasurers who have served in their roles have been likely to have a higher GPA than the average student at Cal State Fullerton. And so whatever the reason is, these things are still applicable even in a pandemic. If anything, I think they're more necessary now than ever because many students feel isolated at home. Our desire to be a part of a community, to make ourselves and the world around us is a better place is still relevant. We just have to get a little creative, learn a few new skills, and adapt for doing it in a remote environment. And so as we're thinking about fall 2020 and how we're planning to recruit and keep members engaged and plan virtual events, you'll have to figure out what is your organization's purpose. All student organizations, all businesses, all groups, like even people, they operate on 3 levels. We operate on what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And I think a number of us are acquainted with what we do. Like, let's say let's use an example. Maybe we're the baking club. The what is probably in our name. We bake things. It's pretty simple, right? But a few of us know how we do it. So maybe you have members that share recipes and lead every meeting and every event. But a few of us can really explain why we do what we do in our student organizations. And in this baking club example, maybe it's to bring people together so that they can learn about the histories and customs of different cultures to promote the uniqueness that we all have to offer in this world. We just happen to do it through baking versus music or sports. Our why, the cause or the belief, is what drives the organization. So I want you to think about, why does your organization exist? Why are you a student leader in your organization? And why should anybody even care? Why would anybody want to join? And so understanding and communicating your organization's mission and purpose will really help you recruit, because now you're developing new skills in your baking club. Maybe you're learning new baking techniques. You're meeting people from all different walks of life. You're networking with local restaurant owners and pastry chefs. You're learning about the world around you through baked goods. These are all reasons that students indicated why they wanted to get involved. All the things that were referenced in the DiscoverFest survey. So, but you're unique because you do it through baking. You do it through baking, promoting strengths and what's different around us. Those are the values. And so your ability to sell your why is so much more impactful, instead of saying like, join our club because we bake yummy things. I think that's like, I think that's like some way for people to get their foot in the door. What I often hear students at DiscoverFest say, like, join our club, we have food. That might get them in the door for the first meeting or event, but it doesn't keep them from coming back to another or even taking on a leadership position. Because, like, let's be honest, like, everybody has pizza. Like, and then, the Pokemon club has food, the pizza club has food. And so it's important to share why you're unique. Communicating and articulating your why also helps engage your current members, because now your why, your purpose, your mission is crystal clear. They aren't likely to question, like, what's the point of this meeting or what's the point of this event? It's easy to come up with new ideas that are centered around this why. And I wanted to say, like, as we're thinking about what you're gonna do as terms of events for the fall 2020 semester, it's easier to focus around this central idea of what your purpose is. And I think one of the big mistakes that student organizations make is that they worry about all the needs of various students. They feel like they need to be a one-stop shop for everything. I think if you think about it, we don't go to the gym to, like, practice religion or to meet our future spouses or to get an education or to get a lunch or a haircut. We go to the gym to take care of our bodies, maybe mentally and physically, but then we go to a hair salon for a haircut. We go to church, we go to a restaurant, we go somewhere else for all of these different needs. And so the beauty of Cal State Fullerton is that we have so many different campus departments and 300 plus student organizations that can fill those other voids that your student organization can promote or even partner with. And so as we get into our panelists, like, these student organizations that are here today have been successful in their own rights because they've been able to figure out their purpose and communicate it with their members and to anybody else who wants to join their organization. So I'm very, very excited to have our, these are just some of the student organizations that were nominated for our inaugural Virtual Engagement Tuffy Award for 2020. And so I will give all of them an opportunity to introduce themselves. They can introduce their names, their pronouns, their major, your student organization, your role within the organization. And I will let Mary start this off. Mary, I know there's a lot happening in Lebanon this week, and it would be a remiss not to acknowledge that, and we thank you for being with us here today. I know your organization has been active on Instagram, so I hope the people here today will follow your page and support your organization and the efforts to help those affected by the recent tragedy. So I just wanted to put that out there. But Mary, why don't you start us off?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Mary. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the president of the Southwest Asian North African Organization, also known as SWANA. SWANA basically is an umbrella organization for all the SWANA/MENA Middle Eastern North African community on campus. And so we basically host events to build community and make sure that we all have like a proper home and a safe space for all of us to talk about any events happening back home. There is the explosion that did happen in Lebanon. I'm also the president of the Lebanese Social Club. Our @ is LSA_CSUF. So if anyone has any questions or needs more information on how to donate or how to help, feel free to reach out.
Saleem, do you want to go next and then popcorn it to Britt and then Kelsey?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Saleem Haider. My pronouns are he, him. And the major I currently have is I'm going to be a junior studying accounting. The organization I'm here representing is TEDXCSUF, of which I am the president and founder. And a quick elevator pitch about our organization is that we are bringing a TEDx conference here to Cal State Fullerton. We're one of 2,000 organizations licensed worldwide for TEDx. And oh, shoot. Oh, and sorry, I've had a long day. So another thing is we're going to be bringing a fall virtual workshop series. That's going to be called Titan Talks. It's going to be used to help build soft skills with our student population while allowing them to express their creative voice, which is something we're really proud of. And we plan to hold our TEDx conference on campus for spring 2021. That is obviously in the air. We're currently exploring a lot of different alternatives in terms of how we can make that possible. But we are really working hard on that. And I'm really proud of the progress that not only me, but our entire organization has been able to make these past few months. I'll go ahead and pass it on to Britt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Britt Johnston. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the president of Active Minds, and our mission is to promote the mental health conversation. And by doing that, we address issues, concerns, resources for mental health that students can need to be aware of, and just try and general raise awareness of mental health issues. And I'm really excited to be here today.
All right, and I'll go ahead and go. My name is Kelsey McAdam. I use she and they pronouns, and I graduated this past May, actually, with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Illustration. I was on the board of the Pencil Mileage Club during the 2019-2020 school year, and I was the social media coordinator. So my job got very important during those last few months. The Pencil Mileage Club is a group of animators, illustrators, and visual art students, and we're looking to create, connect, and collaborate with one another. We're very passionate about the entertainment arts industry, and we help develop connections among students through speaker events, meeting with industry professionals, life drawing sessions, and group projects, and more. We're really about making a community for visual arts students.
Thank you all. Britt, I'm going to have you take this one. So something that I sensed from the Tuffy Award nominations for Active Minds last year is that your group has a really strong sense of community, particularly in like times of crisis. And you all are really great at checking in with one another and just like care for one another as friends. And maybe it's the fact your organization is centered on mental health, but can you maybe talk about like what does your membership look like and what methods have been effective to communicate with them, and how do you ensure it's not just like one person's job?
That's great. So basically our membership, I loved how you said that we are a community, because we are a community where we are small organization. We're getting bigger, but we have always been a small organization. But the benefit about that is I get to know all of my members personally. I usually know them all by name. I've talked to them. I know what their majors are, what their goals are, why they're in the club, what's important to them. And so do all my board members. Something that's been effective to communicate with our membership is having both a formal means of communication and an informal means of communication. So we have some of our like a Titan link and email that is more formal for occasions when there's events or people need updates or questions. And then we have our group me, which is mostly just informal. And that's where we have our board members talk to each other. We bring in members, we ask how their day is going. We check up on, hey, how did your test go? What was that? What was that event that you went to? How was that? How was your weekend? We all know what's going on with each other. We keep a very active group chat, even during the summer, trying to say, hey, how you guys been doing in quarantine? Did you see this on the news? Did you see this article? Sharing resources, sharing anything that we see, and keeping my board members really active within that chat has really helped, because we connect with each of our members individually and they feel more comfortable talking to us like just a friend group chat rather than a club group chat. And it helps everyone feel included rather than feeling like on the outside. And it helps our board members feel more approachable. So that's been really helpful. We ensure that it's not just one person, because we all take different roles in our communication. We have different people who run different platforms. We have someone who handles the Instagram, someone who handles the GroupMe, someone who handles the Discord and the emails. It really helps to get everyone involved, especially we have the GroupMe where we all have different things that we contribute. One of our board members is constantly posting resources. One of our board members is just constantly sending photos of their cat. It's just trying to make everyone have their personality show and have an individual touch to their participation.
Thanks, Britt. And if you all have questions for some of our panelists, like after they talk, feel free to put them in the chat box. Saleem, I know TEDx by CSUF was established and recognized like this past January, and your organization is really interesting because it has a larger e-board makeup. You all have about like 15 members or so, and it seems like you were able to build a strong membership in a short amount of time. And so can you talk about like what structures did you create to maintain engagement throughout the summer and build interest in recruitment, and how have you all involved all your board members in the recruitment process?
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you for that introduction. I'll say one thing about TEDx is, yeah, that's indeed true. We do have a very large e-board. In our organization, we actually have two separate boards that are dedicated to do different big activities in our organization. One of them would be, like I mentioned earlier, our virtual workshop series that we're holding in the fall, and the other one would be for our TEDx conference. We call the two boards respectively our TEDx board and our Titan Talks board. Each one has about 10 members spread across a variety of roles to help make it smooth and make the process very simple while delegating work efficiently. But on the topic of recruiting efforts, there's another thing that's very important, is that a lot of the different things that we do as an organization revolves around the students and their involvement, not just around, offering opportunities to students. I think those are two very different things. A TEDx conference is entirely dependent on the speakers that we are able to land, and our Titan Talks virtual workshop series is going to be entirely dependent on the amount of students that we can get to participate. So recruiting has always been about involvement and reaching out to students and being able to get them interested in what we do. And obviously it's, leveraging our name. That's one thing that we've definitely recognized, is that TEDx is a very highly recognized brand. In the past semester, in the fall, we attended Discoverfest, which is the last Discoverfest that was hosted on campus. That was a fantastic experience. We were able to get a lot of membership involvement, a lot of people interested in our organization. We collected, I think, over 250 emails, which is really, really something that we were proud of. But obviously, I'm going to be 100% transparent. Things went for a loop in spring semester. We got moved virtual halfway through. We weren't able to 100% follow up with these 250 people. So out of those 250 people, as of right now, I think we were only able to onboard 60 of them. And that's, you know, in a percentage wise, that's fairly rough in terms of we had about a 20%, a little bit over 20% retention rate from the people that showed interest during Discoverfest. But I would say that we worked very hard on being able to reach out to those. In terms of recruiting, one of the things I can recommend is as soon as people show interest, to follow up with them as soon as possible. That's one of the things that we've noticed we've had great success with when people submit their membership interest forms. That's one of the things on our social medias that we have is we have a Google form that's linked that when people submit their interest, their willingness to being transparent with the membership fees and the different opportunities we're offering, then we follow up with them almost immediately, and we're able to get really good responses from that. So that's one of the things that I would maybe dedicate someone on the e-board to, is following up with responses and emails and communications very promptly as to have higher retention rates with the people that show interest. And another thing is, one of the questions I was directly asked to answer was, what structures did you create, positions or processes to maintain engagement throughout the summer and build interest to recruit? Which is a fantastic question. So obviously, I'm not going to touch too much over these in order to allow other people to expand upon them later on. But we did add a social media coordinator to both of our boards. They help run our social media. Obviously, as much as we would love to table on campus and answer questions as students are walking by at the different colleges and in the quad right outside the library, we're unfortunately unable to do that with the campus being virtual. So our only means of communication to the student population is through social media. And that's one of the things that we've really tried to capitalize on in terms of keeping weekly updated posts, keeping all of our members and all of the people that follow our account updated in the processes that we're doing, and making it transparent and very easy to apply as a speaker, as a member, or show interest as becoming part of our board. So that's something that we've always tried to be very transparent with. And I feel that that's been a great tribute to our success. One of the things, as I mentioned, is we don't just recruit members for our organization, we're trying to find speakers. And we've been very successful doing that. So far, we have space for about 16 or 17 speakers in our conference, and we've already onboarded 12, which are coming from a background of students at CSUF, students from across the United States, faculty from CSUF, faculty from across the United States, and industry professionals from across the United States. And I say that very proudly because we didn't just recruit within the Southern California area, but within the nation abroad, which is something that I'm really proud of our social media team in terms of upgrading our LinkedIn profile so everybody could update theirs. And we've had people reach out to us, which is something that we're incredibly proud of as well. So establishing a brand and a platform for people to be able to find you is just as important as you trying to focus on how to reach out to people. So that's why I always recommend building your social media, building your communication platforms externally, and really being able to put your best foot forward. So I hope those answers some questions about recruiting, and I'm always open to answer questions later on.
Thank you. Mary, you started the Lebanese Student Association last year and then started SWANA this year, and even managed to secure a $15,000 gift from a donor. So I think many people have questions like, what tips do you have for building interest in a new organization? How do you get them coming back for more? And like, how did you gain support on campus from not just like other students that are interested in these organizations, but donors or people outside in the community?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everyone. So I'm going to start off with the first question. What tips do you have for building interest in a new organization? So it's always important to have your message like sent across as well, and make sure you have like incentives for people in your organization as well. So for example, part of the culture for us is food. So we would have traditional foods, and like we'd explain the backgrounds, whether it be through our interclub council, we'd table for like their social justice week and have like our traditional foods explained to them. Just keep them engaged in the conversation, talk about the SWANA community. Other tips we'd have for building interest is as well as using our social media platform to so we have other clubs promote us, we promote other clubs as well. So you never know, like, let's say like I know someone in your club who's a part of the SWANA community or who's an ally who wants to learn more. So it's always good to use social media to reach out as well. How do you get them to keep returning for more? I'd say social media so far, especially like during quarantine, is like number one. We've been engaging with our members. We want them to be a part of the community. We want them to learn about the community. We've been doing SWANA spotlights where students or members, people on the board, allies, anyone, we either reach out to our members directly over DM, or some students have DM'd us asking, hey, can I do a spotlight? Basically, it's a day in your life as a SWANA student, a day in your life as an ally. You just watch, it's like, we give you the password to the SWANA account, you vlog your day, you show us your culture, you show us your traditions, what you're doing, you ask questions, you do an IG live, and people start interacting with you. And then at the end, you leave your personal if you're comfortable. People start talking to you, DMing you, and you just build like a sense of community, but online. It seems kind of weird, and it was at first because it's like something new that we're not used to. But like when you like move on, like a lot of people become more interested in like, wow, they care about their members. I've learned so much, like not only from the SWANA community, but from the PETA community or just other communities in general. So if anyone's interested, make sure to reach out to SWANA. We'd love to learn more about you and your communities as well. How did you gain support on campus? So there were a lot of we mostly like would debunk myths about the SWANA community and the Middle Eastern culture. There was no support on campus. So and there was no community on campus. So we basically had to start from the beginning and work our way up from being an organization to finding a community, to building everyone a home, to making sure SWANA students are comfortable on campus and they want to be on campus, reaching out to the diversity initiatives and resource centers. We fall under the Asian Pacific Resource Center. They've been really helpful. They've provided us a space within their space, and they support us. Reaching out to the centers there. I mean, everyone's been so supportive, and as well. So yeah, that's basically it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know.
We have comments in the chat box. Ileana said, SWANA Spotlight was so much fun to watch. And Jaren said, that's such a great idea for social media engagement.
Yeah, you honestly get a lot of, so like when you do like spotlights, so let's say like you were to do one about your culture, showcase like your traditional foods or like what you're doing throughout the day. You leave like little like questions like, oh, like do you do this in your household? And people will respond. And it's like good to see like the similarities between the cultures. And it's just like a fun idea and everyone seems to enjoy it. We plan on doing like international edition where we have our cousins back home take over, and then people see like a day in the life in the SWANA region. And then they get to, and then also like our allies, like whoever wants as well, like we could go ahead and talk to their cousins and like the day in the life of like a DESI student who lives abroad. Like we're excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's a good way to like engage members and show them that you care and that you're there for them.
Thanks, Mary. I feel like something that I'm hearing from at least the three of you that have talked already is that it's been really like a two-way street, and that it's not like we are broadcasting as an organization out. It sounds like you all are not waiting for members to come to you. Like you're not building it for them to come. You're kind of trying to like put your feelers out there, see what your members want, and then like trying to reciprocate that. And even I think you made a good point of like connecting with other organizations or connecting with campus departments to make those partnerships, because then now they can like advocate for you or promote you as a student organization. Because then if I meet a student who's interested in a TED, watching TED Talks, I can then refer them to, the organization on campus. Or if I have a student who said, I never met another SWANA student or another Arab student on campus, I have another organization I can promote. And so it's making sure that you're partnering and getting the word out, and kind of it's a two-way kind of communication that's going on that helps you recruit and build relationships. So thank you. Kelsey, I know Pencil and Mileage Club is one of the larger student organizations on campus, and one of the things that impressed the Tuffy Awards Review Committee was PCM's like ability to use different platforms to communicate and engage your members. And you all are really great at building community and providing opportunities for students to connect with like jobs and internship prospects. So tell us a little bit about how you engage like such a large membership when maybe everybody has like different needs. How do you keep members engaged? Yeah, when they have different interests and needs, and then what are some technology and resources that you've all used?
Yeah, we are a very big organization. I think our last event on Twitch, we had almost 200 people show up to that, and that was amazing. So I think one of the ways that we keep such a large membership engaged is that we have quite a variety of different events. Like a lot of people talk about our speaker events, but it's not just like, oh, this is a speaker from a studio. We try to get a variety of jobs and a variety of experiences. It's very important to us to highlight diverse experiences so that no one feels like, oh, like I don't belong here. We want to make sure everyone feels like they do belong. And so outside of speaker events, we also have drawing challenges. We try to do IG lives as much as we can too. We try to just get out there and make sure that we're talking to people so that they don't feel like, oh, just feeling like they need to conform to what our ideas are. We're always looking for new ideas and new suggestions for different talks that we have. A lot of our officers do talks on Fridays. We've started on doing Twitch streams of those, and we cover everything from doing cover letters, resumes, and just we had someone doing, oh, this is how I draw animals in the wild. And we had one of our professors come in and give like a budgeting talk, and that was really great. So yeah, I think that's how we also keep so many different people with different interests and needs involved too, and especially taking suggestions. Like we had someone say, oh, can you give a talk on how to run an online store? And all of the officers went, oh, we've never really done that before. Let's look into it and let's reach out to people we know that have done it successfully. And we gave a presentation on that. So, and also our Discord is quite large as well. And one of the nice things about that is that if members, especially during the summer and during quarantine, people are up all times of the day and night, they can pop in and usually somebody will be online and they can just be like, oh, hey, what's everyone doing right now? And there's a whole bunch of different channels that are kind of, there's some that are more like, oh, can I get critique on this project I'm working on? And others are more of just, general chat, send the memes, send a picture of your kittens. Like we love to see the animals. And so one of the big things that have changed is the technology and resources that we use. So I'm assuming that everyone's using Instagram by now, but if you're making sure that it's a business account, you can actually track your analytics under the Insights tab, and it'll give you the time and day of the week that like you get the most views and get the most feedback on things. So like last year, Fridays at noon were like the time to post. So, but I was in class on Fridays at noon, so I used this app called Later, and you can actually schedule posts so that even if you're not available to be posting at the prime time, the app will go ahead and post for you. And it's actually a free app. You can only use it for 2 platforms. I had it set up for Instagram and Twitter, but you can also schedule things on Facebook if there's a way to do that. And but also making sure, like, if you are just manually posting, Instagram has a way so that when you post on Instagram, it posts to a whole bunch of different platforms so that you're only having to do that once. And then, like I said, Twitch has been really big for us. It gives us a big way to present information that we may not be able to get out otherwise.
That's so
Kelsey,
helpful. Yeah.
did you say the name of the app was Later, Later?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people are downloading the app right now. I know I'm going to do it for student life and leadership because
Yes.
that is very convenient. I love the idea of like hacking like your data analytics and figuring out like, okay, like Fridays at noon are the best time. Now I'm going to post all of my content at that day and time. That's so cool. And I think that if you all have a large organization, or maybe you have lots of different interests or competing priorities, I like the idea of having different channels, because that's really a way for only those people who are interested in, you know, creating a store online, or only people who are interested in, you know, developing their resume, they will get that information in those channels. So that's so smart. I welcome more questions in the chat box if you all have more questions. But I have, you know, we're all curious, like, okay, these student organizations were the 2020 Virtual Engagement Tuffy Award nominees. Like, what are they doing for fall? And so if you all, like, what do you all wish you knew in March that you know now? And like, is there anything that your organization is doing differently to adapt to remote learning? And talk about things that you didn't bring up yet. And then also, you don't have to address all of these things in once. You can figure out how you want to organize your thoughts. But how will you train your officers and members, not just to be successful for the next academic year and while we're remote, but like, how do you make sure you'll train them so that your organization will be sustainable over time? I often see a lot of student organizations that, you know, they're really excited and they find members, but they're like all seniors, and then the next year they don't exist anymore because, you know, they weren't able to invest their time and energy in training other officers and members. And so what are you all doing to make sure you're sustainable? Does anybody have thoughts or want to try to attack some of these questions that I threw out?
I can go ahead and speak on the sustainable part. So I think a good way is, I know we're not going to have Discoverfest fall, but it's still super important to reach out to first years and see and make sure, like, start getting them interested in the organization, whether you DM them or whether you reach out. I don't know if Student Life and Leadership, is there any way that Student Life and Leadership could get first years for like organizations for people who are interested, but like maybe like creating like a video of what you've done the past year, posting it on Instagram. Also like I know for first years, for like housing or something, there's like an Instagram, I don't know what it's called, I'll try to look it up. It's like CSUF, like first years or class of 2024. It's like one of those Instagrams, and just like look through it and then like start following people, start engaging with them, and then start like showing your current board members who are younger all the steps that you need, so that way like communication is even. So if I don't know what an interclub council is, but like someone else knows, I want that person to explain to every single person on the board what an interclub council is, because you never know like when someone is going to graduate. And also like everyone needs to know like what's going on or how things work within the organization. So like, yes, your job is like your job, but it's also important to know how other people's jobs work as well, in case they can't handle what they need to handle, or if they need help as well.
Thanks, Mary. I think, yeah, communication is definitely key, and being able to open up those channels. And I think many of you have mentioned, like, you don't just have one person managing social media. Like sometimes you all have like multiple people managing social media, or you have like a whole schedule of like what's going out with what captions, so that you have multiple people reading through things and vetting it before it gets posted or you're sending things out. I did want to fact check one thing or clarify something, because there was questions about, Mary mentioned we're not having Discoverfest. We're not having Discoverfest in person. We're having a virtual Discoverfest, and we will be talking a little bit more about that later. And so we're having a virtual Discoverfest, and we have a virtual fair happening. We have videos that we're featuring on our YouTube page and a number of different things. But yeah, so we're having a Discoverfest, just making that clear. Anybody else want to share what they wish they knew? Anything your group's doing differently? How you'll train officers?
Yeah, I can go ahead and touch something real quick. So one of the things that I wish I had known prior to starting this last few semesters were how to engage your board correctly. So that's one thing that, especially since we've been thrown for a loop and put on virtual, from the very beginning, one of the things that we prided our organization of doing is that we were very engaging and cooperative with people's different schedules and times. So one of the things that I love doing was, even before coronavirus and COVID moved us all virtual, we had all of our meetings virtually. And one of the things that we really stuck to that really worked out very well is developing an agenda for each individual meeting to help us keep staying on time. So that's one of the things that we really tried to emphasize, and it seems it worked out very well in terms of having our board members respect and engagement in doing their responsibilities and attending their meetings and being cooperative is very respectful, like, to everyone's time. So it's very easy when you're doing an online meeting to get sidetracked, to talk too much on one particular topic. Sometimes, and this is one thing that's common in meetings of all kinds, is that you end up having 3 or 4 people out of a board of 10 that do most of the talking for 45 minutes out of an hour meeting. So it's really important to try and avoid that, to not be afraid to table discussions. One of the things that I've definitely enjoyed doing is, especially since we're working virtual now, is that if you need to meet with an individual member of your board or an individual team that you want to work with for a specific week as a student leader, to do that individually. That's the great part about being able to do that virtual, is that it's very easy to, email a few people, hop on a Zoom call, hop on a Discord chat, and to talk about the different goals or things that you want to get done for that week or for that sort of whatever period of time in between your meetings. So it's very easy to do that in a board meeting involving everyone, but just to be respectful of everyone's time. So that's one thing. And then the agendas are incredibly helpful as well, because it provides a very valuable record in terms of the tasks that have been done for the past few months. If you were to have, for TEDXCSUF, what we do is we have bi-weekly meetings every Sunday at 2 on Discord. We recognize that you don't have to have your video chat on, you don't have to do anything, but the agenda does have sections of it where each individual team talks about what they've been doing these past few weeks. So you can very clearly, we follow the agenda to the point so that people know when they're going to be talking, and they can be ready and ready to go at the appropriate times. And we give these agendas out the day before the meetings, so people have the ability to prepare what they're going to say, to gather their thoughts. And it seems that everybody comes prepared to all of our meetings, which is something that I think was a huge struggle for us early on. Is we would delegate assignments as a board to everybody in the board, and then we would meet 2 weeks later, and it would be a struggle finding out what has actually been done, and then people weren't following up, the instructions weren't clear for what we wanted. So having it all written down where people can go back to later, where people can see what they did 2-4 weeks ago, what each individual board member did in every board, it was a really valuable tool. So definitely stick to a routine for your meetings, and definitely try and keep it in the time slots allocated for each individual meeting, and meet individually with members of your board, as opposed to bringing up important discussions where everyone is involved. I would say that's really important.
I think that's super helpful. I think even now, now that we're remote, I think sometimes it's a little bit easier to document or even record meetings for people who might miss it. And I love the idea of really setting boundaries and making it easy for members to follow, so that they know what's going to be talked about and what they need to prepare. I know one thing that came up last year at a LeadCon that was really cool was, I forget what group it was, but there was a group at LeadCon last summer that had mentioned that they have different members take the lead of every single meeting. And so that they know, so that your other members are invested in what each meeting is, but then also it gives them skills, and then they are prepared in case they are president of an organization the next year. So I thought that was really cool. Does anybody else have thoughts on what you wish you knew back in March, April? That seems so long ago, and it's just a wild time. Mary, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about everyone, but I wish I knew COVID was gonna happen back in March. We definitely had a lot of in-person events planned, and a heritage celebration in April, because it's I know it's a PETA Heritage Month. It's also SWANA Heritage Month. But I just wish we knew COVID was gonna hit. It was weird to transition back online, but I mean, we all have it in control now. So yeah.
I can talk a little on sustainability. That has been a big issue for our organization after the past couple years. We've had 3 years in a row where everyone was graduating except one board member, who is left with the entirely new board. And that has been me one of those times. And it is stressful having an entire new board with everyone else leaving. So some things that we changed in our club to help with this is, for one, we do, whether you do elections or you do interviews, is doing it in the middle of the semester. It might seem way too soon. You might feel like people aren't as interested yet, but I found that people do tend to know if they're interested in a leadership position by the middle of the semester, and that's a good time to start doing your leadership transition, having your approach your members, even if they don't speak out about being interested in leadership position, talking to your members individually, like, hey, I've seen that you are really good at this, or you really like this. Have you thought about doing this position? We could really use you. And we have had the biggest board that we've had in several years because we approached our members personally and talked to them about adapting positions. And a lot of them had the same fear. They were like, well, I just don't know if I'm experienced enough to handle it. And I was like, that's okay. We'll get there together. And so doing that in the middle of the semester gave us plenty of time to have our previous board meet with them, do personal meetings. They all met with me. We had group meetings. We put them on the board group chat. They had plenty of time to operate as board members before they even became officially board members, to gain experience in their positions, to talk about their positions, and they had plenty of access to the current board members for questions. We had plenty of examples. We had them run some meetings. We had them like our social media coordinator, we had her take over and start posting before the semester even ended. It really helps to give plenty of time for potential officers to get used to their position. And another way for sustainability is knowing your members individually will help them be more interested in taking a leadership position. When they feel like they're personally involved with the club, they're much more likely to step up and take a leadership position, rather if they're just someone who's attended all the meetings but never talked to anyone. It's a lot easier to get people involved that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's so many people probably in this Zoom room right now that wouldn't be in their leadership position unless somebody shoulder tapped them and were like, hey, I think you'd be really great. And imagine if they would have done that just a little bit earlier so that you could have that training. That would have been probably a lot more helpful to know, like, okay, how did you run this event? Or how did you coordinate these meetings? Or what do you have to do with student life and leadership? And like understanding all of those things earlier, those personal connections that you all make. And I think Saleem made a good point earlier when he was talking about recruiting. It's like following, as soon as somebody shows interest, make sure you follow up with them and like get to know them. And then you start those relationships so that you can kind of like groom them to take over, because at some point you all are going to graduate, and what's going to happen to this organization? And the sooner that you can get everybody on board and give them the confidence to know that they can do this too because you're doing it, and that you're all human, and that if you make a mistake, we can fix it. We'll figure it out. Like, the better off your organization will be, and your legacy will be able to last because you're building on each other's like accomplishments. So thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else have any other thoughts about what you wish you knew? Anything you wish you're going to do differently, or thinking about sustainability?
Yeah, I had one important thing that I had wrote it down that I wanted to mention 100%, and I feel bad for talking so much, but definitely on recruitment on this topic, and this is really important, is reevaluate your membership fees. That's something that I think is incredibly important, to recognize that expenses may have changed due to fall being virtual. So you need to reevaluate in terms of how many members you need, how much funding you're going to need, and how much to charge your members individually. That's going to be incredibly important in figuring out, in getting people drawn in and more inclined to join your club. Obviously, the lower the membership fee, the better, but you want to make sure that you have enough funding to be able to properly, you do this stuff that your organization does, your networking events, your recruiting events, but it's no longer, you're no longer going to have to book venues if you're going to be doing everything virtually. So that's one thing to reconsider. You may not have to do catering. So that's another thing to reconsider. There's a lot of expenses that have been knocked off, which is something that you should view as an advantage. And then you should reevaluate your budgeting in terms of assessing those new things and those new expenses. Maybe plan out some events and stuff that you want to do, and then figure out what are the different things that you may have to purchase or set up for that. So And yeah, so I see the questions, can we collect membership dues even though we are online? So that was something that is, that was something that we were trying to do as well. We had a virtual welcome event and we were trying to collect membership dues for that. So I remember we were talking with Miss Gleanne about this, and that there was a form that's you're able to do that, where I think it's Eventbrite, where you're able to sell tickets to an event. So the way that we were going to be doing that is we're going to sell a ticket, which will be the membership fee, to a welcome event, a Zoom welcome event, where we'll give us a quick little run through about our presentation, the different things that we're offering, and we'll be able to record how many people. And depending on the ticket that you buy, it could be for either fall semester or for fall and spring. It'll be different pricing for each ticket for the same event. So that's an incredibly good thing to do. I'm sure Ms. Glan's going to talk about it a little bit more once I finish talking, but yeah, about the membership fees. Yeah, so reevaluate it 100%, and trying to see if you can get a more affordable membership fee for the different members.
Yeah, that's a good point. This question came up yesterday at yesterday's LeadCon about, do we have to assess membership fees, or we assessed membership fees in the past, but we don't think we need to this semester? So the answer is yes, you can. So yes, you can assess membership fees. In everyone's constitution, there's a clause about you have the opportunity to assess membership fees. My recommendation is being very explicit about what those fees go to, so that your members are aware, like, I'm paying this money, what do I get for it? If you want to assess membership fees for the fall 2020 semester, my recommendation is to fill out the fundraising form found on Titan Link. I'm sure Christina can put that in the chat box, but there's a YouTube video about the fundraising form and how we use it. So you would fill out the fundraising form. Our office would help set up an Eventbrite page for your organization, and it goes automatically to your ASI agency account. The only downside for Eventbrite is, one, Eventbrite does charge a service fee, so you'll have to figure out at what point do you raise your membership fee to then absorb the cost of that service fee, or do you pass that service fee along to your or do you eat the cost, so that maybe your membership fee is $10 and now you only get $8 or whatever, minus whatever the service fee is, or do you pass it on to your members? So you have to figure that out. Two, for the Eventbrite form, you only get the funds transferred into your ASI agency account once the event closes. So my recommendation is to push membership dues on Eventbrite for 2 weeks or a month or whatever that time frame is, because if you have it up all semester and then you need that money in November, you won't be able to get it until the event closes. So that's just something to consider. But yeah, go to our YouTube channel. There's a fundraising form video. You can assess membership fees, but Saleem said, now that everything's virtual, you're saving money. And so what are you wanting to use that money for? And so maybe you used to assess membership fees and now you won't, or maybe you're using it so that they get additional content or job opportunities that you post to your members, that the people who don't pay a membership fee is. Figure that out, what that is for your organization. The name of the YouTube channel it's a CSUF Student Life and Leadership. I'm going to open this up for questions. So if you have questions, let us know. You can raise your hand and we will unmute you, or you can put it in the chat box and we can answer questions from you all. I'll give people, I know people have questions because there's a lot happening in this world. When will we have the link to the survey? We will send the link to the survey once that we're done with this presentation. So let's see, Kevin raised his hand. I will unmute him.
Hi. Here, I'll turn on my video also, so if you guys can see me. Hi. So I'm a part of Business and Data Analytics Club on campus, and it's a very niche topic, and I've noticed each one of you have very niche topics in that sense. For members, in the sense of they're oh, I want to try this out and just see what it's about. How do you get those kinds of people to stay in the club after getting that first time? I just want to, I guess, specific examples or what you guys try to do for that.
I can answer that real quick. Usually at Discoverfest, we have people sign up in an interest form. And for that first week or so, depending, first couple weeks usually, we let them have access to everything that our paid membership members have access to, free life drawing sessions. I don't know what that would translate to for you guys because it is kind of niche, but they get our newsletter that only members get. And then after the 2 weeks is up, they stop getting those benefits. And so they can kind of try out the club. And usually people are like, oh, what happened to my newsletter? And it's like, oh, if you join as a member, you can keep getting the newsletter with all these important employment opportunities. And they usually join after that. So I hope that answered your question.
We have a few other questions. Let's go to the top. So can we use so Evelyn asked, can we use Venmo and use an individual bank account? The answer is no. Please don't do that. That's a direct violation of a CSU policy. So we recommend that everybody uses their ASI agency account. And so if you have questions about your finances, we have an online training that is mandatory for all presidents and treasurers anyway. We have a section dedicated to finances and addresses this information. So if you need information about finances and how that works, I will have Christina link the online course from Canvas into the chat box. I think, how many platforms of social media do you have in total? Do you all want to address that? That was a question from Sharon.
We use several different platforms. Instagram, we're starting a Twitter, we use Discord, we use GroupMe. I think having several is just a good way to make sure that no matter what platform is their primary platform, people can reach you. Because I know plenty of people who only use Snapchat or only use Twitter, only use Facebook. So if you have plenty of platforms, then you're going to reach more people.
I think our club has 6 or 7. We use Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Discord. We use Tumblr, but we use it kind of to update our website because it's kind of a dead platform, but Snapchat too.
Do you have different people managing all of these different like social media sites, or is it the same person, or how do you all organize that?
Our club, we had one person running the Twitch and then the different presenters depending on that week. And then I managed all of the other social media sites. And then we had one person who was our secretary running the emails, but I'm expecting that will change as people rely more on social media in the coming year.
Mary or Saleem or Britt, do you all want to chime in on that? Or
SWANA only has an Instagram, and then we also have our mail list, but on Instagram we're really active. So that's how we've been engaging with members. We don't have multiple platforms. And for the Instagram, it's the marketing chair, the president, the vice president, and then one events chair has access to it, just so if like we don't have time to go through the Instagram to see what to post on that particular day, others will go on the Instagram and post to either update students or something happening in the SWANA region. So that's usually how we do it.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and talk on behalf of TEDx. So we use LinkedIn and Instagram for the primary bulk of our social media. For internal communications, we also use Discord, but we don't really advertise that in terms of using it for external marketing. Another thing that we're working on currently, which is a work in progress, is we're building our own personal website for our organization. It's going to have an About Me page, a little bit about our mission statement, a calendar with prospective dates and stuff that we're trying to do. We plan to update that regularly and launch that soon and publicize it on our Instagram to make it sort of where you can get a quick shop and FAQ about our organization, have a little nice visual to look through. So that's one of the things that we definitely recommend exploring if you guys have the capability to do so within your organization and board.
Mackenzie from the Pre-Vet Club was asking about what do you recommend for fundraising since social events can no longer be held in person because of COVID. Are you all fundraising and how are you doing it? Or even like Mary, like you all got a big donation. How are you using those funds? I think that's something that we're all thinking about. Like if you're gonna fundraise, what are you fundraising for, since most everything is virtual?
So we did get a $15,000 donation to SWANA. We don't know, so we are in the process of making like a wish list for the donor to go over and see the events we're gonna have fall and spring, and also whether I know fall was planned all online, and spring we planned 2 forms. We planned a hybrid, and we planned, so it's half online, half in person, one if it's fully online and one if it's fully in person, because everything's all up in the air right now. But for funds, and for events, we're going to try to do it. You could always go through your inner club council so let's say like in person, you would have a speaker. So let's say now like, oh, like we can't have a speaker, we're not in person. You have to like think in a creative way, like you can still have all your events, but just online. So let's like you want to have a speaker about mental health. So let's say, but now we can't bring the speaker. I'm pretty sure ICCs, we fall under ICA. They're probably going to work the same. You just go where you request for funding, you do all the steps. They'll give you the money if you get approved. And then you could have the speaker come on over Zoom, have an incentive for students as well. I know for the 15,000, we don't plan on using it all. We do have our SWANA week, which is a week-long event to celebrate the SWANA and Middle Eastern culture and heritage. But that won't be happening. It's usually in October. So we're trying to come up with like a different way to have a SWANA week online. A way to get money though is I'd say like creating like t-shirts for your organization that are like cute, stickers, and then posting them on social media. If you want, also you could link it to like a donation center. So like half proceeds go to like a donation center, and then half of them go to your organization. It's completely up to you. You just have to like add like your creative twist to it. Also, I do know everything's going to be online, and I do know some orgs plan on doing events online, but some socials in person. And I know that's fine as long as you follow the mayor's guidelines of social distancing and wearing masks. So you could always do like a social distancing, like picnic, beach bonfire, hike type of shenanigan, and then charge members, like let's say $10, and then you supply them with water and like granola bars and stuff like that. And then you profit like, I want to say like $6 a person. So I know SWANA did a beach bonfire as their first social to recruit new members from Discoverfest, and then have members meet each other. And we profited like, I want to say like $80 just on the bonfire. And we had pizza, s'mores, and everything. So just being like smart about how to fundraise and like how to get the money, shirts, charging members. SWANA doesn't do membership fees. We want people to, I know like some people don't have enough money for it. Some people can't afford it. We want everyone to feel like they're at home and they're at ease, and like we got everything taken care of. So those are just some ways if you're not going to do membership fees, and they really pay off, and people have fun and they have a good time, and it builds community as well.
So another thing about fundraising is, I'll go ahead and touch upon this as well. And Ms. Glenn can correct me if I'm incorrect, but one of the things that is unique to us as student organizations is that we're registered nonprofits, which is a huge advantage. So you do get your 501c3 tax exemption status. So the importance of that and what that is I'm on the board of directors for another nonprofit outside of CSUF and all those sort of things. And a 501c3 tax exemption status means that any donations that are received by your organization you can give them the people who donated a tax write-off. So this is a huge incentive for businesses to donate and stuff like that. So if you're going to be reaching out to corporations, for example, TEDXCSUF is a special interest organization, so we can reach out to a lot of different places. We tend to, as an organization, we're very applicable to a lot of different industries and sectors. So one of the things that we're reaching out to is In-N-Out and Costco. So we reached out to In-N-Out and Costco, and we asked them if they'd be interested in donating or supporting our cause, since we are a nonprofit organization tied to CSUF. And they said that they'd be interested in donating, proved that we can provide them the 501c3 tax exemption ID. So that was one of the things that we were trying to get a hold of Student Life and Leadership. I believe they're trying to get that coordinated for this coming year. So you can actually receive donations from businesses, and you can reach out to businesses in order to do that. And another thing is that if you guys said, this is more of an example that would be more applicable to in person without coronavirus and stuff like that, is whenever some restaurants, when you do the restaurant planning as like getting commission based off of the sales, if they, you advertise, go to Chipotle at this amount of time and say TEDXCSUF, and we'll get 15% of the proceeds will go to us. They're going to ask you for your 501c3 tax ID as well. So really leveraging that, that's all I can say, is that that's a unique trait that you would normally have to apply very hard to get it outside. I think it's around $400 for a nonprofit to get that ID with the IRS. But since we're at Cal State and we have the privilege of being able to do this through the school, is to really leverage that. So reach out to businesses, leverage the fact that you guys are a nonprofit, that you can accept donations, and then try and reach out and find out more about how you can use this. But I'll pass it to Ms. Gleanne to make sure that this is still an option that's applicable given the current situation.
Yeah, thanks for plugging that, Saleem. I think many student organizations automatically go to like, how can I get like money for my organization? But know that you all can maybe work through your networks and your connections, and maybe your alumni. I know there's some comments about involving alumni in the chat box, to maybe get a gift in kind donation. And so as a recognized student organization, you have the ability to use Cal State Fullerton's 501c3 tax ID number. So you as an organization are not like nonprofits or 501c3 organizations. We are using the university's tax ID number. And so through the fundraising form that we mentioned earlier, I think the link is in the chat box about the YouTube video, you can request to set up an Eventbrite form. You can, collect a gift in kind if you're looking to accept a gift in kind donation, or if you are looking to use the university's tax ID number to give another organization, maybe it's a restaurant, maybe it's a friend of a family, if they want to be able to write off on their taxes that they donated to Cal State Fullerton, specifically to Active Minds or to TEDx, they can use that, but you have to fill out the form. And so make sure your organization's registered. So a few things that are coming up in the chat box: your organization has to be registered in order to use your ASI account, and then to use the tax ID number and to participate in Discover Fest. So make sure that you are completing the three-step registration, the 3 steps for re-registration. I know there's some questions about alumni. I don't know if anybody wants to, I see Kelsey is bringing up that they involve their alumni in their organization. So how do you all do that? And I guess, what does that look like for Pencil Mileage Club?
Yeah, a lot of our graduates, after they graduate, they go on to become industry professionals. One of our former Pencil Mileage Clubs is one of the heads of recruiting at Disney Animation Studio. And so we got in contact with him and had a tour of the studio a couple of years ago now, I think. But so we very much stay in contact with our alumni. We invite them back as speakers. We'd love to have them at any and all of our events that they wish to attend. We don't offer, I know there was a question about, do we separate alumni from other membership fees? And we don't. It's just a flat fee for anyone. But yeah, just inviting them back, staying involved, keeping track of their Instagrams, promoting them sometimes, is just a great way to keep everyone connected even after graduation.
Mine's kind of a combo about the alumni and a little about the fundraising. Something we're picking up on for fundraising this year is people are desperate for things to do right now. Everyone is bored. We're all bored. We all have way too much time on our hands being at home all day. So competitions, challenges, classes, things like that you can offer online are really interesting to people right now because they're looking for things to do during the day. They're looking for something to fill up all this time that we have at home. So things like that can be really helpful. And part of that is knowing your alumni and knowing what your alumni skills are. Like we have a previous alumni who's been dancing since she was a little girl, and she's going to offer a dance class this semester as one of our fundraisers. So just knowing what your alumni's connections are and what their skills are, trying to get them involved in events and still general meetings. Our alumni are always welcome at our meetings, at our events, at our workshops, and our group chats. Just keeping your alumni involved and knowing their skills can be really helpful in a lot of different things.
Thank you. Let's see. A lot happening in the chat box, which is really exciting. There are questions about ASI accounting. So ASI accounting is working on updating their website with information on how to access your funds and set up your check requests. So that is coming. So don't worry. I know there are questions about collecting membership fees from students. You can collect membership fees by having students mail their checks to the ASI accounting address and make sure they put which organization and what your ASI account number is. Or you can set up an Eventbrite page through the fundraising form like we mentioned. Can ASI do a webinar on how to create an Eventbrite page? I will work with them to do that, but we have the fundraising form that addresses part of it on YouTube. So make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Questions. Would we be able to accept donations via Venmo individually, then pledge a donation on our organization's page? No. So I think there was a question about if you can use Venmo. So using Venmo or external accounts or individual bank accounts is a violation of a CSU cash handling policy or a CSU finance policy. It's not a Cal State Fullerton issue. It's a CSU, like a chancellor's office policy. And so the only groups who can use Venmo, and this is where some gray area happens, is groups that are affiliated with a larger national organization that has control over their bank accounts. So say I am a fraternity or a sorority on campus and I am affiliated with a larger organization. They have that created that set up a bank account for our club. They submit that information in the registration form and it gets approved through our campus controller. So those are the only groups who are able to use their Venmo because it's directly tied to those accounts. So that's a good question. We can take one more question. Anybody has any more questions? I'll give everybody a few seconds to type. Does the president and treasurer both have to attend LeadCon? No, just one person needs to attend LeadCon. That's a good question. We recommend that more people attend LeadCon, but only one. We will put this information, this session will be recorded and we're putting it on our YouTube channel. I know Serena's working hard to make sure it's streaming there right now. But I guess without further ado, I just want to say thank you so much to all of our panelists. You all are amazing. I'm so grateful for your time and for your knowledge. I think it's so much more valuable to hear from actual student organizations and leaders what you were doing, because I think I can talk as much as I want about what the ideal student organization would look like and how it would operate, but that means nothing because I'm not in one. So thank you so much. I know we will send out the slide deck for those who RSVP'd and are here and fill out the survey here shortly so that you get this information, but it'll also be on our YouTube channel, and I'm hoping that our panelists will maybe drop their Instagram handles in the chat box. That might be cool to follow up and make sure we follow you all. Some closing things as we are wrapping up LeadCon. We have one more session tomorrow. We have a re-registration clinic tomorrow. And so as you all know, the re-registration process is 3 steps. And so if you have questions about the 3 steps, read this article on Titan Link. It's a very detailed article that also has the link for the online course. And so read that. But if you have questions, you can always drop into our office hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We have a registration clinic tomorrow. If you haven't heard, we're doing a virtual Discover Fest. We're even doing a virtual fair. We're trying to like mimic an in-person fair the best to our abilities. And so Titan Link now has the capabilities for us to do a virtual fair. So it's basically, you're gonna figure out how to table it on Zoom, and we're gonna have 1 million Zoom rooms happening simultaneously on September 3rd from 11 to 2. And they're all gonna filter and traffic through Titan Link. So make sure your Titan Link pages are up to date. But if you have questions about Discover Fest and what that will look like, go to our Titan Link page and RSVP for the webinar next week. But we'll also be recording that session and putting it on our YouTube channel. So feel free to peek at that. I know there have been questions about like the Discover Fest YouTube videos, because we're featuring some student organization videos on our channel. I'm sure many of you have been trafficking there today through our chat box links. I think Saleem submitted a video, so that's really exciting for their organization. So that we're making playlists for every kind of type of or category of student organization. So if you want your video to be featured on our channel, make sure that you read up on our Discover Fest article or come to our webinar next week. And now Titan Link even lets you embed videos onto your page. So that's exciting. And then I have a survey for you all.